These are the Hoka Arahi 8. They're a moderate stability shoe that's seen a number of updates over the previous version, including a brand new upper, a new midsole, and a new way to create stability. But did these changes make the shoe better or worse? How comfortable are they? How well do they perform? And most importantly, is it worth the money that they're asking for it? All that's coming up, so be sure to stick around. Hey everyone, I'm Tim and this is Run Tall. If you're new here, welcome to the Run Tall family. I'm really glad you are here and you found us on YouTube. Now, I post running videos all the time. Running shoe reviews, comparisons, and shoe battles. But I also like to post videos about training, recovery, and gear reviews. So if you're into that kind of thing, I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free to do and it really does help out. Now, before I get into it too far, I do want to get a quick disclosure out of the way. I did buy the Hoka Arahi 8 with my own money. So no one's paying me to make the video, no one's telling me what to say, and no one has an opportunity to preview my thoughts before I share them with you first here on YouTube. With that out of the way, let's take a real deep dive into the Hoka Arahi 8. Let's start with the cost. These retail for $150 US. Now, I bought this colorway from Roadrunner Sports. I think it looks absolutely fabulous. I love this colorway. I usually do buy my running shoes from Roadrunner Sports, but that's because I have a membership there. I've been a member there for years and it saves me a lot of money. If you're interested in maybe checking these out for yourself, I'll put a link in the description below. It'll take you right to it. Okay, the upper is made of a double jacquard mesh material. It's cloth-like. It feels terrific to touch it. Very smooth, very comfortable. Unlike some of the more plastic uppers that are out there on daily trainers, this one, like I said, has a very cloth-like feel to it. And you can see up here in the toe box, it has a number of perforations. It's not overly done, but even on some of those hot days, I did feel pretty comfortable. I never felt like I was getting gushes of cold air across my toes, but they were comfortable enough even on hot days. And there's lots of room up here in the toe box. Not overly done. I didn't feel like I was swimming in them, but my toes weren't cramped either. So they had a nice wide toe box that I think fit me just about perfectly. Oh, and speaking of fit, before I get going on it too far, I did order mine true to size. For me, that's a US men's size 9. And weight-wise, on my scales, they came in at 9.4 ounces, which is a little bit lighter than the stated weight on the websites. Okay, so now let's go back and we'll talk a little bit more about the upper. And as we follow this back along the lateral side of the shoe, there really aren't any additional perforations back there. You do have their plastic logo here for this says Hoka, and then on the back and the heel counter, you also have a little bit of plastic overlay there. The one thing I do want to mention about the upper and some of those little bit of plastic overlays, I think this is kind of a hidden feature here because it doesn't necessarily stand right out, but some of this plastic here across the toes here, along the eyelet chain, back along the heel counter are reflective material. I love that. Anytime shoe companies can build in a little bit of safety for us, I'm all for that. And that reflective material is going to work well when it's in low or no light conditions and you have traffic that you have to contend with. Those lights are going to pick up on that material and let the people that are coming towards you know that there is a runner that's out there and they should slow down and beware. So love the fact that they added a little bit of safety there for us. Okay, so let's take a look at the eyelet chain. Now, that's a pretty basic standard eyelet chain, nothing crazy going on there. The one thing I will note is that they do have a few extra eyelets up here. Of course, they have the additional eyelet in case you want to run where the runner's not, but they've got a couple other there too. So it's like you have a couple of options. If you wanted to tie your shoes a little bit more forward, so maybe you want a little bit more room or you want to have it feel a little bit looser as you move through your gait, you do have that option. I didn't do that. I just laced them like I normally would lace my running shoes, but it's always nice to have choices. Lots of padding in the shoe. I think the shoe has a lot of premium features for a basic daily trainer. That double jacquard mesh material, as I mentioned, is soft to the touch. It's very cloth-like, but it gives it a real premium feel to it. And then they extended that with the amount of padding that they included. And I'm going to start, we're going to take a look at the tongue first. Now, the tongue has quite a bit of padding. The tongue, it's not gusseted, by the way, but they do have this pass-through loop up here that you can run your laces through, and that's going to hold it in place. I didn't have any issues with it sliding around. So once I cinched the laces down, I was secure and good to go. And along those lines, I never felt like the laces were cutting across the top of my midfoot, even though I did have them cinched down pretty good and created a nice heel lock for me back here. Lots of padding around the heel collar and the counter of the shoe. I often refer to this kind of padding as the pillow style. It's not a scientific term, it's just one that kind of came to my mind when I was reviewing shoes a while back, because it kind of reminds me of just resting your head on a pillow. So it sets up mainly around the collar of the shoe, and then it tapers down into the footbed, and then that taper does create a nice heel pocket for your heel to set in. And I didn't have any issues with my heel sliding around. I got a nice solid heel lock, so I didn't feel like my heel was moving side to side or up or down. And the Achilles heel flare felt really nice. And the big bonus is, they don't have a pull tab here to help you get your shoes on, but you can use that Achilles heel flare if you want to help you get your foot into the shoe, which I do every single time I put these on. Okay, so that brings us down to the midsole, and that's really where the magic is, especially in stability shoes. They have a dual density foam here, and they've got a lot of it. The best estimate that I can give you is 39 millimeters in the heel and 31 up in the forefoot. And the reason I say my best estimate is because Hoka doesn't list the stack heights on their website. And I've seen them ranging from as high as 41 to the average seems to be around 39. The one thing that is consistent is the 8 millimeter offset, and that's different. That's different than the Arahis of the past that had a 5 millimeter offset. And I've run in the Arahis over the years, but these changes have made this a completely different shoe than what I'm used to. And for me, that's kind of a good thing. This is an older Arahi pair that I liked, but I never really fell in love with them. I put lots of miles in them. They're a comfortable shoe, but they're a bit more firm, especially than these shoes. But they were firm for a daily trainer. But compared to the now Arahi 8, these are much more comfortable for me on foot. All right, so dual density foam. One of the big changes here is how they went about creating stability. They moved away from the J frame. And they did that, when in the Gaviota 5. When the Gaviota 5 came out, they had introduced us to an H frame, and they brought that H frame into the Arahi 8. So what happens is you basically have an H, right? So you got material that runs on both the lateral as well as on the medial side of the shoe that are connected in the center, and you can actually see this material that I'm talking about here, because you can see the separation in the midsole. And on the lateral side, you can see it starts back about here, and it goes all the way up through to the forefoot of the shoe. Now, if I turn this around and we take a look at the medial side, this is where there's a little more supportive material, because it starts all the way back here, and then it comes all the way around through to the forefoot of the shoe. One of the things I absolutely love about this style of stability feature is that it does go all the way up through to the forefoot. Oftentimes in stability shoes, at least stability shoes of the past, the stability features kind of stopped right after your arch, right? Because their main goal was to keep you from rolling inwards or necessarily rolling outwards, but primarily rolling inward. But here, because you have two pieces of material on both sides of the shoe, and your foot sinks down between those two pieces of material, and it cradles it, and it keeps it in a nice neutral position as you strike the ground and move through your gait. So that's how they're creating stability. I think it works absolutely terrific. It's a more gentle form of stability than maybe some of the other stability shoes that are out there, especially those that have the harder, more medial posts. The J frame that Hoka has used in the past, I felt, did a good job, and it was more comfortable than some of the other tech that was in shoes that are out there. But I think that this is an improvement over the J frame itself. Okay, so, and I do benefit a lot from stability shoes because I overpronate. I severely overpronate. So these are working well for me. And I've got, just shy of 40 miles in this pair. And I've had them out on an easy run. I took them out for a little bit of speed work, did some interval work with these. and I had them out on a long run, and they have performed really well across the board on all of those occasions. So they're a really versatile stability shoe, especially if you're someone that benefits from stability features. But even as a neutral shoe runner, if you want to have a little extra support, these are definitely worth taking a look at. All right, so let's flip these over. We'll take a look at the outsole and see how they're protecting all that EVA foam that we just talked about. And they have plenty of rubber here from the heel all the way through to where your toe off. They have some exposed area right here in the midfoot section of the shoe. And that's basically to keep the weight down. And you don't need that coverage there as much as you do in those high abrasion areas, which again would be in the heel and primarily where you toe off. And they've got those areas covered. I'm going to say it's somewhat pod-like, and this too is a feature that they brought or showed us at first in the Gaviota 5. So these are somewhat of a pod style of outsole rubber material, but I think it's going to work really well, and we're going to get lots of miles. We're going to get lots of miles out of these shoes. There's no doubt in my mind about that. So what's it like to run in these? As I said, I've had them out on various different types of workouts, and they've performed really well. It's been hot. It's been really hot here, and these shoes have done a good job keeping me comfortable out on those workouts, regardless of the temperature. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is that they're smooth. They don't feel clunky at all, and they have a lot of stability. So when I look at the footage, especially of the rear footage where I'm running, you can see that my ankle hardly ever rolls inward. I enjoy running in these. I think they're a good choice. They're a relatively lightweight stability shoe for sure. And, I think they make a really good daily trainer. And I do think they're worth the $150 that they're asking for them. All right. Hey, you guys, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed making it for you. As always, run tall, run strong, be kind to one another. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.